Thumbs. Oh, the thumbsucker's thumb may look wrinkled and wet and withered and white as the snow, but the taste of a thumb is the sweetest taste yet, as only we thumbsuckers know. Wild boar. If you tell me the wild boar has 20 teeth, I'll say, why, sure. Or say that he has 33, that number's, well, it's quite all right with me. Or scream that he has 99, I'll never say that you're lying. For the number of teeth in a wild boar's mouth is a subject I'm glad I know nothing about. Lester. Lester was given a magic wish by the goblin who lives in the banyan tree. And with his wish he wished for 2 more wishes, so now instead of just 1 wish he cleverly had 3. And with each one of these he simply wished for 3 more wishes, which gave him 3 old wishes plus 9 new, and with each of these 12 he slyly wished for 3 more wishes, which added up to 46, or is it 52? Well, anyway, he used each wish to wish for wishes till he had 5,007,018,034. And then he spread them on the ground and clapped his hands and danced around, and skipped and sang and then sat down and wished for more, and more, and more they multiplied, while other people smiled and cried. And loved and reached and touched and felt, Lester sat amid his wealth, stacked mountain high like stacks of gold, sat and counted, and grew old. And then one Thursday night they found him, dead, with his wishes piled round him. And they counted the lot and found that not a single one was missing. All shiny and new, here, take a few, and think of Lester as you do in a world of apples and kisses and shoes. He wasted his wishes on wishing. Sarah Cynthia Sylvia Stout would not take the garbage out. Sarah Cynthia Sylvia Stout would not take the garbage out. She'd scour the pots and scrape the pans, candy the yams and spice the hams, and though her daddy would scream and shout, she simply would not take the garbage out. And so it piled up to the ceilings, coffee grounds, potato peelings, brown bananas, rotten peas, chunks of sour cottage cheese. It filled the can, it covered the floor, it cracked the window and blocked the door. With bacon rinds and chicken bones, drippy ends of ice cream cones, prune pits, peach pits, orange peel, gloppy glumps of cold oatmeal, pizza crust and withered greens, soggy beans and tangerines, crusts of black burned buttered toast, gristly bits of beefy roast. The garbage rolled on down the hall, it raised the roof, it broke the wall, greasy napkins, cookie crumbs, globs of gooey bubblegum, cellophane from green bologna, rubbery, blubbery macaroni, peanut butter caked and dry, curdled milk and crusts of pie, moldy melons, dried up mustard, eggshells mixed with lemon custard, cold French fries and rancid meat, yellow lumps of cream of wheat. At last the garbage reached so high that finally it touched the sky, and all the neighbors moved away, and none of her friends would come to play. And finally Sarah Cynthia Stout said, "Okay, I'll take the garbage out." But then, of course, it was too late. The garbage reached across the state, from New York to the Golden Gate, and there in the garbage she did hate. Poor Sarah met an awful fate that I cannot right now relate, because the hour is much too late. But children, remember Sarah Stout, and always take the garbage out. Drats. Can anyone lend me 2 80-pound rats? I want to rid my house of cats. Hat. Teddy said it was a hat, so I put it on. Now Dad is saying, where the heck's the toilet plunger gone? My rules. If you want to marry me, here's what you'll have to do. You must learn how to make a perfect chicken dumpling stew, and you must sew my holy socks and soothe my troubled mind, and develop the knack for scratching my back and keep my shoes spotlessly shined. And while I rest, you must rake up the leaves, and when it is hailing and snowing, you must shovel the walk, and be still when I talk, and hey, where are you going? Oh, have you heard? Oh, have you heard it's time for vaccinations? I think someone put salt into your tea. They're giving us 11-month vacations, and Florida has sunk into the sea. Oh, have you heard the president has measles? The principal has just burned down the school. Your hair is full of ants and purple weasels. April Fool! Warning. Inside everybody's nose there lives a sharp-toothed snail. So if you stick your finger in, he may bite off your nail. Stick it farther up inside and he may bite your ring off. Stick it all the way and he, may bite the whole darn thing off. The Unicorn. A long time ago when the earth was green, and there was more kinds of animals than you've ever seen, and they ran around free while the world was being born, and the loveliest of all was the unicorn. There was green alligators and long-necked geese. There was humpy, bumpy camels and chimpanzees. There was cats and rats and elephants, but sure as you were born, the loveliest of all was the unicorn. But the Lord seen some sin in it, and it caused him pain. He says, "Stand back, I'm going to make it rain." He says, "Hey, brother Noah, I'll tell you what you do. Go and build me a floating zoo. And you take 2 alligators and a couple of geese, 2 humpy-bumpy camels and 2 chimpanzees. Take 2 cats and rats and elephants, but sure as you're born, Noah, don't you forget my unicorn." Now, Noah was there, and he answered the callin', and he finished up the ark just as the rain started fallin'. He marched in the animals 2 by 2, and he called out as they went through, "Hey, Lord, I got your 2 alligators and your couple of geese, your humpy-bumpy camels and your chimpanzees. Got your cats and rats and elephants, but Lord, I'm so forlorn, 'cause I just don't see no unicorn." Old Noah looked out through the driving rain, but the unicorns were hiding playing silly games. They were kicking and splashing in the misty morn. Oh, them silly unicorn. Then the goat started goatin', and the snake started snaking, the elephant started elephantin', and the boat started shaking. The mouse started squeaking, and the lion started roaring, and everyone's aboard but the unicorn. I mean the green alligators and the long-necked geese, the humpy-bumpy camels and the chimpanzees. Noah cried, "Close the door, 'cause the rain is pouring, and we just can't wait for them unicorn." Then the ark started moving, and it drifted with the tide, and the unicorns looked up from the rock and cried, and the water came up and sort of floated them away, and that's why you've never seen a unicorn to this day. You'll see a lot of alligators and a whole mess of geese. You'll see humpy-bumpy camels and lots of chimpanzees. You'll see cats and rats and elephants, but sure as you're born, you're never going to see no unicorn. Treehouse. A treehouse, a free house, a secret you and me house, a high up in the leafy branches, cozy as can be house. A street house, a neat house, be sure and wipe your feet house, is not my kind of house at all. Let's go live in a treehouse. The Flying Festoon. Oh, I'm going to ride on the flying festoon. I'll jump on his back and I'll whistle a tune, and we'll fly to the outermost tip of the moon, the flying festoon and I. I'm taking a sandwich and a ball and a prune, and we're leaving this evening precisely at noon, for I'm going to fly with a flying festoon, just as soon as he learns how to fly. No difference. Small as a peanut, big as a giant, we're all the same size when we turn off the light. Rich as a sultan, poor as a mite, we're all worth the same when we turn off the light. Red, black, or orange, yellow, or white, we all look the same when we turn off the light. So maybe the way to make everything right is for God to just reach out and turn off the light. Invisible Boy. And here we see the invisible boy in his lovely invisible house feeding a piece of invisible cheese to a little invisible mouse. Oh, what a beautiful picture to see! Will you draw an invisible picture for me? Tight hat. I tried to tip my hat to Miss McGaffrey. I never should have put it on so tight, 'cause it wouldn't come off my head and my neck got stretched instead. That's what you get for trying to be polite. Peanut Butter Sandwich. I'll sing you a poem of a silly young king who played with the world at the end of a string, but he only loved one single thing, and that was just a peanut butter sandwich. His scepter and his royal gowns, his regal throne and golden crowns, were brown and sticky from the mounds and drippings from each peanut butter sandwich. His subjects all were silly fools, for he had passed a royal rule that all that they could learn in school was how to make a peanut butter sandwich. He would not eat his sovereign steak, he scorned his soup and kingly cake, and told his courtly cook to bake an extra sticky peanut butter sandwich. And then one day he took a bite and started chewing with delight, but found his mouth was stuck quite tight from that last bite of peanut butter sandwich. His brother pulled his sister Pride, the wizard pushed, his mother cried, "My boy's committed suicide from eating his last peanut butter sandwich." The dentist came in the royal dock, the royal plumber banged and knocked, but still those jaws stayed tightly locked. Oh darn, that sticky peanut butter sandwich! The carpenter he tried with pliers, the telephone man tried with wires, the firemen they tried with fire, but they couldn't melt that peanut butter sandwich. With ropes and pulleys, drills and coil, with steam and lubricating oil, for 20 years in toil, they fought that awful peanut butter sandwich. Then all his royal subjects came, they hooked his jaws with grappling chains, and pulled both ways with might and main against that stubborn peanut butter sandwich. Each man and woman, girl and boy put down their plows and pots and toys and pulled until crack! Oh joy! They broke right through that peanut butter sandwich. A puff of dust, a screech, a squeak, the king's jaw opened with a creak, and then in a voice so faint and weak, the first words that they heard him speak were, "How about a peanut butter sandwich?" Lazy Jane. Lazy, 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 lazy Jane. She wants a drink of water, so she waits and waits and waits and waits and waits for it to rain. The edge of the world. Columbus said the world is round. Don't you believe a word of that. For I've been down to the edge of the world, sat on the edge where the wild wind whirled, peeked over the ledge where the blue smoke curls, and I can tell you, boys and girls, the world is flat.